Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're zeroing in on something you probably see every single day, Instagram trends. But we're not just, scrolling through aimlessly. We're actually diving deep into how these trends are shaping the strategies of businesses, the ones trying to connect with you.
Yeah, and we've got this really fascinating research article that kind of pulls back the curtain a bit.
Right.
It looks at how companies from all sorts of different industries are thinking about and, well, using these sometimes really fleeting moments.
And it's such a wide range, isn't it? The study covers everything from travel.
Yeah, travel, e-commerce definitely, cosmetics, of course,
Mm-hmm.
even things like glassware, textiles, supplements, tech.
Mm-hmm.
It really shows how widespread this stuff is.
It really does. So, our mission today is basically to cut through all that noise and figure out the real impact. Like, how do these often very short lived Instagram trends actually influence business decisions?
Yeah, the nitty-gritty.
Exactly. We're talking campaigns, sure, but also maybe even longer term things like what products they decide to develop. It's a real behind the scenes look at modern marketing. It is.
Yes.
So maybe to kick things off, let's just make sure we're all on the same page. What exactly is social media in this context?
Well, okay, at its core, fundamentally, it's about connection, right? People
Yeah.
connecting and sharing information. That's kind of the base level.
Okay.
But Kaplan and Heinlein, who defined that, also
Right.
pointed out it's, highly interactive. It allows for that two-way conversation, real-time responses.
Like messaging a brand and actually getting a reply quickly?
Precisely. And Kent adds things like there's generally less anonymity than maybe there used to be. There's this intimacy or rapid response expectation, and you engage on your own time. Time shifting, they call it.
Right. So it's not just brands shouting into the void anymore.
Not at all. And Howard and Parks break it down into three parts. There's the content creation, the posts, the videos, the digitized personal info we all leave behind, and of course the audience.
Mm.
It's really just the basic communication model, originator, message, recipient, but, supercharged.
Which has totally flipped the script for marketing, hasn't it?
Oh, completely. These platforms built these massive networks around shared interests. So communication is efficient, ideas spread like wildfire.
That contagion effect or word of mouth.
Exactly, the digital womb. And positive interactions can build social equity for a brand, like online goodwill. But it's complex, depends on the community structure.
And the sheer amount of information, data flying around must be, well, huge.
Immense is the word. You hear about the three V's, velocity, volume, and variety. That's from Alharthy and others.
Speed, size, and different types of stuff.
Yep, text, images, video, all sorts. And the tech now lets companies grab and process this diverse data relatively easily. So for you listening, every like, every share, it all adds to this massive information flow.
So it's not just noise, it's actually full of clues about what people care about if you know how to read it.
That's it exactly.
Yeah.
It's a potential goldmine for market research, understanding customers, even crowdsourcing ideas, like Nizzy talks about.
Right.
But, and this is important, the human element is still crucial. Tech gives you data, but humans provide the insight.
Okay, so we're navigating this huge dynamic social media ocean. How do we start to understand how people actually behave there? What are the theories?
Well, one really interesting way to think about it comes from Goffman, his idea of the front stage.
Okay.
He talks about how in social interactions we're kind of performing. Online, social media becomes this digital front stage where we present a certain version of ourselves, and through doing that, we establish norms for behavior.
So my perfectly curated Instagram feed is basically my personal performance, my highlight reel.
Kind of, yeah. And then there's Bourdieu's concept of social capital. He says it's
Mhm.
not just about economic capital, money, but also about your connections, your cultural know-how. Online, your profile, the groups you're in, the way you communicate that builds your social capital.
Yeah.
It's acquired partly through differentiating yourself. Think about like language skills on a resume, helping you stand out. Same idea, different context.
That makes sense. It's about who you know and how you present yourself digitally, too.
Exactly. And Ellison and colleagues point out that these profiles can actually help break down communication barriers, find common ground faster.
Interesting.
Plus, you get different levels of social support and information depending on your network, as Steinfeld and others found.
Uh-huh.
And crucially, they stress that your online presence isn't separate from your offline life. It all adds up to your overall social capital.
So online actions have real-world social consequences.
Definitely. Then there's social learning theory from Bandura. Basically, we learn by watching others, There's reinforcement learning, learning from the consequences of our own actions. But there's also observational learning, seeing what happens to others, the mistakes they make, and avoiding them ourselves. Social media is a massive arena for that.
Like learning from millions of experiences simultaneously.
You got it. And finally, there's the uses and gratifications idea. Whiting and others talk about this.
Oh.
We're not passive sponges. We actively choose media to fulfill needs.
Like what kind of weights?
Oh, things like social connection, maybe entertainment, seeking status, or just finding information. Gallian lists these. We go to platforms and content that give us what we're looking for at that moment.
So there's a purpose behind the endless scrolling.
Usually, yes.
Yeah.
Even if it's just boredom relief, that's a need being met.
Okay, understood. So we know what social media is, why we use it. Now, turning to businesses, why is social media marketing not just, a nice to have, but pretty much essential now?
Well, simply because that old one-way street of communication is gone. Companies used to just broadcast.
Right.
Now, everyone has a voice. Consumers talk back, share opinions, influence brands directly. It's forced a massive shift.
Yeah, the research used a great analogy for this. Bowling versus pinball. Can you unpack that?
Oh, yeah. Hollinson's analogy, it's brilliant. Old marketing was like bowling.
Yeah.
You craft your message to the ball, send it down the lane, traditional media, hoping to hit the pins your customers.
Controlled, predictable-ish.
Pretty much. Now, social media makes it like pinball. You launch your message to the ball into this chaotic, dynamic environment. It bounces off everything, influencers, user comments, other brands. Those are the routers. Marketers try to use their flippers, quick adjustments, new content to guide it, but they've lost that direct control.
Wow, that's a really vivid picture of the chaos.
It is. And it means customer-to-customer interaction, CDC, is huge. That digital word of mouth we mentioned earlier, it's everything.
And that must make public relations, PR, way more important too, right? Monitoring all that chatter.
Absolutely critical. You have to listen constantly, be ready to respond to comments, address issues before they blow up into a crisis. A small complaint can go viral incredibly fast if you're not careful.
So paying attention isn't optional anymore, it's survival.
Okay, let's zoom in specifically on Instagram now. What makes it such a key player?
Well, it's just one of the top dogs, isn't it? Huge global user base, very visual photos, videos. It really took off with its ease of use, filters making everyone feel like a photographer.
Yeah.
And it stayed incredibly relevant, especially with younger demographics, though it's broad now.
And these Instagram trends we're focusing on, how do they actually pop up and spread?
A lot changed around 2020 with features like Discover and particularly Reels. That really ramped up the speed at which trends, both global and local, could emerge.
Right, the short video format.
Exactly. Often, they start with influencers or just funny, relatable memes. It's usually about users copying an idea, a product use, a style, a sound, putting their own spin on it.
And interestingly, this study notes a lot of trends actually migrate from TikTok. People use both, see something cool on TikTok, recreate it on Instagram.
Ah, the cross-pollination effect.
Precisely. Once influencers or celebs on Instagram pick it up, it can spread like crazy through their followers, who then make their own versions. It could be the theme, the story, even just the background music.
We see it all the time.
Yeah, the study mentions things like that Talking Cats meme that went global. Brands jump on that stuff because it gets massive engagement, it's super shareable, and it makes them look current.
Like they're in on the joke.
Exactly. Or that organizing the fridge trend. That wasn't just a flash of the pan.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Right. It led to millions of posts, huge visibility for organization products, containers, shelves. The study found hashtags like #organizer had millions of posts back in December 2023. Brands in that space definitely capitalized.
It's wild how something so specific can blow up and actually drive sales. Okay, let's get into the heart of this research now, the interviews with the marketing professionals. What did they actually say?
Okay, so the researchers did these qualitative, semi-structured, in-depth interviews. 11 marketing pros from those different industries we listed earlier, all in Turkey, identified as effective social media users in 2023. And they followed ethical procedures, got university approval.
Good to know. And they asked 5 main questions.
Yep, 5 key areas they explored.
All right, let's break them down. Question 1. How did these companies actually spot and keep track of these trends? What are they using?
They mentioned a bunch of tools. Hootsuite, Sprout Social, Boom Sonar were names that came up. These help them monitor hashtags, see popular content, analyze user interactions.
The standard monitoring dashboards?
Pretty much.
Uh-huh.
But it wasn't all smooth sailing. One interviewee pointed out a big challenge: data lag. Sometimes the tools aren't quite real time, so by the time they see a trend, it might already be peaking, or they react too slowly. Another mentioned the tools can be complex to use well.
So tech helps, but it's not a magic bullet for speed. What else are they doing?
Big emphasis on influencer collaborations and working with media agencies that keeps them plugged into what's emerging.
Makes sense. They're often starting the trends.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And interestingly, several execs really stressed just fundamental consumer research. Participant 8, for instance, said understanding your audience deeply is key for organic, sustainable growth, not just chasing fads.
So it's a mix. Tech for data, influencers for the pulse, and customer understanding as the foundation. Okay, question 2. How do these trends impact their short-term strategies?
The consensus was significantly. Trends really impact short-term positioning, brand visibility, engagement. They can give you that quick boost.
Right.
Managing content effectively, understanding the algorithms that was seen as crucial to maximizing reach when you jump on a trend. But again, challenges like data processing delays and just organizational complexity. Participant 10 mentioned this, can hinder quick reactions.
So speed and agility are paramount for the short term.
Absolutely, because trends fade fast. They also talked about needing collaborative strategies across departments and solid crisis management plans, in case your attempt to join a trend backfires.
Good point.
So participant 4 summed it up well. You need to balance capitalizing on these short-term wins with your long-term consistency. Don't ditch your brand identity for every viral dance.
That's a really key tension, strategic participation. Okay, what about the bigger picture? Question 3. Medium and long-term strategies. How do trends fit in there?
Here, the approach becomes much more strategic, more considered. They talked about needing rapid awareness. Participant 1 mentioned dedicated social media teams constantly scanning. But crucially, that speed has to be paired with alignment. Does this trend actually fit our brand identity? Participant 3 said, that's the first question. Does this make sense for us?
So filtering becomes more important than just reacting.
Exactly. Content and budget management are critical long-term. You need sustainable creativity. Deep market analysis, really understanding the target audience, including societal and cultural factors. Participant 9 talked about tracking color trends, visual styles, even video view times to inform long-term plans.
Wow, getting really granular.
Yeah. And having solid media and tech strategies provides that competitive edge and adaptability over time.
So for the long haul, trends are more like inputs that inform strategy rather than dictating it wholesale. What about the actual products? Question 4 was about production diversity, right? Do trends change what companies actually make or sell?
Yeah, and the answer was basically sometimes. Paying attention helps brands stay relevant and build relationships, as Participant 4 noted. Show you're listening.
Right.
And Participant 3 highlighted how platforms like TikTok are great for creatively introducing new products, especially to younger people.
So a trend could actually spark a new product idea.
It could. But again, Respondent 5 stressed balancing that short-term reaction with long-term planning. Examples came from cosmetics. Participant 8 mentioned how trending ingredients might lead to quick portfolio updates. Food 2 viral recipes might inspire new items.
Interesting.
But the key is alignment. Does it fit the brand? Can we actually produce it effectively? It needs strategic consideration.
Got it. Maintain coherence. Okay, final question number 5. How are trends reshaping consumer behavior itself? What did the execs observe?
This revealed a kind of dynamic interplay. Marketing adjusts to trends and consumer preferences, which are also being shaped by social media.
A feedback loop.
Pretty much. Yeah. Campaigns increasingly leverage viral content and influencers. Participant 2 stressed influencer marketing's impact. Discounts are also used strategically around trends, according to Participant 4.
We see that a lot.
And a big theme was the rise of online shopping and the conscious consumer. Participant 1 noted how easy it is now to compare products online, empowering customers. Participant 5 emphasized the growing need for transparency because consumers are more conscious and informed.
So trends aren't just frivolous fun. They're tied into these bigger shifts in how we shop and what we value. Okay, let's try and synthesize this. Looking across all the interviews, what were the main discussion points or overarching themes?
Well, the researchers confirmed that tools like Hyperrazor, Hootsuite, etc. are generally seen as effective for monitoring, analyzing feedback, competitor tracking, sentiment analysis.
Standard practice.
Yeah. And the strategy of following influencer feeds and original content to spot trends early is very common. But importantly, there wasn't total agreement on the impact level. Some execs were all about quick reactions, others stressed long-term planning and sector-specific approaches. No single answer.
That makes sense. Different industries, different paces.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The strategic adaptation involves that whole package. Content production, budget management, market analysis, media tech strategies. They really reiterated social media's vital role in e-commerce, brand collaborations, differentiating products, and needing that rapid adaptation capability.
And customer focus remains key.
Always. Customer centricity and quality content creation came up again and again, aligning with earlier research. Ultimately, understanding that whole ecosystem strategy, trends, consumer behavior is crucial for staying competitive.
It really sounds like a complex, ongoing balancing act. Anyway, let's distill this down. What are the key takeaways for our listeners from this deep dive?
I think the first big one is just reinforcement. Social media is deeply integrated into our lives and heavily influences buying decisions, often more than traditional sources. Online reviews, influencer opinions, they carry real weight.
Yeah, definitely.
For businesses, the challenges are real. Real-time monitoring is tough. Collaboration with influencers and constant competitive analysis are pretty much essential now.
And for some sectors like e-commerce, cosmetics, textiles, trends can actually change the products on the shelves.
That's right. They confirm trends do impact production diversity. We heard about viral products getting adopted, new ingredients like vitamin C or collagen becoming hot because of trends, even fashion linked to TV shows influencing textile production. It demands flexibility.
That air fryer example was perfect.
It really was. A product that wasn't doing great suddenly exploded thanks to Instagram trends, better positioning, and influencer marketing.
Okay.
Shows the power.
But always with the caveat that trends are short-term.
Right. Crucially, brands have to ask, is this compatible with our identity, our portfolio? Many use buffer budgets specifically for these agile trend responses so it doesn't derail core plans.
Okay.
And while the direct impact on medium-long-term strategy is maybe less dramatic, it's there indirectly. Aligning trends with brand strategy, adapting to algorithm changes that shapes things over time. And even when trends fade, collaborations might last, or shifts like the dominance of short food videos stick around. Plus, PR and crisis management remain constantly important.
Mm-hmm.
They even mentioned using neuromarketing techniques like eye tracking for content measurement and optimizing things like shelf layouts based on visual attention.
Wow, getting really scientific. Did
Yeah.
they suggest where research should go next?
Yeah, they mentioned maybe looking deeper into TikTok specifically and also using larger sample sizes for qualitative studies like this to boost reliability.
Makes sense. So wrapping up, the big picture is Instagram trends are a powerful, if often temporary force. Businesses have to reckon with them strategically.
Exactly. Agility, audience understanding, and strategic alignment with the brand identity seem to be the keys.
And that leaves us with a final thought for you, the listener. Considering how fast these digital trends move, how can businesses build marketing strategies that are truly sustainable, that last longer than the next viral moment?
Yeah, what are those timeless principles that should anchor their approach in this constantly shifting digital world? Something to definitely mull over.